Thank you very much. When I started looking at this for the Technology is Not the Problem book, that was not the original title because I was looking much more at technology and how it shapes the way we live together today. But in the course of looking at it, I went from thinking, oh, this is interesting, how everything is personalized for us. So Rob's joke about you've been selected because you're a very discerning audience because you like sophisticated discussions. So I went from thinking, well, this is how technology personalizes everything for us by collecting data, building a profile, giving you something that's tailored just for you, to thinking, why is that the technology that we have? Why do we have this personalizing technology and not some other kind? And so I ended up in a rather different place. And so I'm going to basically say that technology is not the root of most of the problems for which it's blamed, and that some of those problems I think are overstated, and the ones that aren't overstated we tend to discuss with a lack of nuance that makes it very hard to have a sensible discussion of them. So let's start with one of the things that it's often blamed for, which is polarized online debates. And it is true that it's very difficult to have the kind of sensible discussion we're having in these rooms through social media, for example. But I think it helps to see that in terms of not just the nature of the interactions that we have through social media, but the fact that we tend to live in online worlds that are, if not polarized, but certainly personalized and often radically different from the online worlds in which other people live. And that's because our online worlds, and increasingly our offline worlds as well, are personalized in this algorithmic way, and we are fed things that are supposedly specifically for us, or rather for our data profile. And obviously, although it's designed to give us the feeling that the entire world is being filtered and selected for our benefit, what's actually happening is we are being filtered and selected for the benefits of people promoting debates or trying to sell you slippers or whatever it is. I think the real question here is, well, why is this? Because obviously, if you have technology that can do that, it could operate in different ways. Why is the technology designed to feed us different things so that we, to some extent, live in different worlds? And so when we interact with people with different worldviews, we have very little common ground on which to interact, either in terms of our factual understanding of the world or even in terms of our ideas about how a debate should be conducted, even in common language. Right. And the reason why we live in this personalized world and have this technology and not other technology is because we live in a world that's really more and more driven by identity and by not only individuals who feel the need to have our own identity recognized and reflected back to us so that we're reassured that we are who we feel we are and that others see us the way we want to be seen. And that drive to have our identity recognized and reflected back to us is not just a personal psychological drive, it's also increasingly how society is organized. And I'm sure this will come up in a lot of sessions this weekend, but a lot of the debates that we have now are framed in terms of our identities in a way that 50 years ago, perhaps quite similar issues would not have been discussed in that way. They might have been discussed in terms of our material lives, our legal freedoms to do things or not to do things. But they're increasingly discussed in terms of our identity and our right to express who we are. So given that, I think it's not at all surprising that the technology we have molds itself around our desire to be unique, to be special, but also to belong with certain tribes of people. And when we debate online, and I'd be happy to come back to this because there's some really lovely and interesting research that digs into this. When we debate online, we are less going out to encounter other ideas and perhaps change somebody else's mind, or even, amazing, perhaps be able to changing our own mind. Online debate is less about that. It's much more about projecting our identity, building our identity, and shoring up our identity group. So that if somebody comes and disagrees with us online, we don't feel it as, oh, here's an interesting new idea. I should take this on board. Perhaps I should even change my ideas. We experience it as somebody is attacking my group that I'm part of because these beliefs are part of our group identity. I'm going to slightly skip over team mental health because I can tell I'm going to talk too long. But again, happy to come back and talk about this because although it's not the main focus of my work, there is some very good other research out there which I'm happy to discuss. I'd just like to briefly touch on another thing which is a genuine problem, and technology is certainly part of the problem. Although again, I don't think it's the root cause, which is the sense of disconnection, sense of atomization, and lots of symptoms of this. So a loss of concentration, a loneliness, a sense of being separated from other people. So the kind of technology that connects us, that means you're never actually alone because you're always reachable, also means that you're actually never fully connected with the people that you are in the room with if you're always also slightly connected to people in other places. And I think that sense and that loss of agency we feel about our own lives, the sense that we've been driven by algorithms and responding constantly to what technology feeds us and choosing things from pre-selected menus that we are offered instead of being in the driving seat of our own lives. I think that is a problem, and I think the kind of technology we have certainly doesn't help with that problem. But again, I don't think it originates in the technology. I think the technology expands to fill the gaps in the lives that we already have. So it's not that we have a diminished sense of ourselves because of the technology that we have. We have the technology that we have because we already has a diminishing sense of who we are.
Okay, thank you very much, Timandra.